Hey, today's Friday the 13th, September 13th. Shout out to everybody out there who's going to do a Jason or whatever marathon tonight. Time to Talk podcast. It's time to talk. I want to talk about RFK Jr. Now, I want to talk about his recent transition to joining the Trump team. Now, I know that's older news. That was a few weeks back, so nothing shocking there. But had a conversation with my dad yesterday. We were talking about the debate. Discussing some of the details on that. If you haven't seen my analysis of that debate, please check the channel for that on my breakdown for what I thought on the recent debate with Harris and Trump. But I was talking to my dad about, and he asked me about RFK Jr.'s decision to join the Trump team and what I thought about that. My answer immediately was it was obviously the smart, politically strategic move to make for him. RFK Jr. was in the polls, his popularity was gaining traction. They were really making the fight. They were really making the case. And they were really working hard to get him media coverage and to get him on debates. And they were going back and forth with legal battles in different states to get him on the ballot. And it was really a lesson in watching how the Democrats in this general duopoly that we live in makes the decision to force people like that out, right? Like it's the same thing every election cycle. We have an independent voice, a populist voice who comes out, whether it's Bernie Sanders or blah, 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 whatever, right? And Robert F. Kennedy Jr. was that voice, and he was doing pretty well. And the Dems did everything they could to squash him and keep him out of this because he represents this anti-establishment sort of mindset and that whole anti-corporation, anti-pharma. He's an environmental lawyer. He's been advocating for cleaning up the environment and cleaning up rivers and water and all sorts of things for years. And he's had a successful track record doing it. Now, in spite of him having the lack of media attention, the only thing a lot of people out there see when they see RFK Kennedy Jr., I should say many people, not a lot, but there are people who know nothing about him other than believing that he's a crazy conspiracy theorist, anti-vaxxer who had a brain worm eating his brain and he did something with a dead bear in Central Park. Yeah, there's some oddities to this man. There's oddities to everybody if you really dig into their history and things, right? But overall, as a man, again, a lot of that stuff is just total, like, over-exaggerated stuff. If you've actually taken the time to study, to read his book, The Real Anthony Fauci, for God's sakes, The Real Anthony Fauci, that book, you will get some mind-numbing, a wake-up call and learn some things. And you'll see to what degree this man really has put the time in to unveil, to uncover, and to basically pull out from the shadows and the dirt underneath of the entire Food and Drug Administration, the pharma companies, and Anthony Fauci and Bill Gates and people like that, who are all part of this, that whole thing. So outside of the people who think he's a nutcase, there's a lot of people who were into this guy. So from a strategic standpoint, as far as going with Trump, he keeps himself alive, right? He keeps himself in the race and he keeps himself pertinent to a certain degree, right? Especially if he gets a cabinet position on the Trump administration and something happens here. If Trump wins and he finds himself in the White House, he can continue to do the fight. He can continue the anti-establishment thing if they let him. But we'll get to that in a second. But he will at least be in a position where he won't just be like the guy who ran and now where is he, right? He's back to doing whatever in civilian life, right? So he's going to maintain his political course. And I think that's a really good thing. Now, he was recently on Wednesday. The reason why I'm even doing this particular episode is Wednesday he was on the Full Send podcast. And he was talking about some things that I just really thought was interesting. He brought up the fact that when that Trump basically explained to him that when Trump first took office, that first round, that Trump was overwhelmed coming in. And he was like, he had to fill like 60,000 jobs, like stuff that Trump was unprepared for, again, because Trump being the blowhard and the egotistical, again, he was a reality TV star, New York real estate guy, shady, whatever the hell he was, right? He went into politics, he got into DC and became president against all the odds. And here he is now, like thinking it's just like cleaning up a corporation or making deals and doing things. And I'm going to do it all. I can handle everything. But he had to fill 60,000 jobs. And RFK Jr. was talking about how he explained to him that he was overwhelmed by that and that all around him were all these lobbyists and all these people. And they basically had him appointing all these different people into these jobs. And he had a pharma executive as the head of the FDA. A coal lobbyist was the head of EPA. A pharma lobbyist was for HHS, right? It's Health and Human Services. So it's kind of like, an oil lobbyist for Department of Interior, a telecom lobbyist for the FCC. So the very people that are in charge of regulating these industries, being part of these industries, are deeply embedded in these industries and have financial interests within those industries. So I thought that was interesting. And Trump had a wake-up call having to do that. Now, he explained to RFK Jr. that if he gets in again this time in 2024, that he doesn't want to do it like that again. And so this is the issue with Trump. This is why they hate him so much. The idea that he's anti-establishment and he wants to try to break down those walls. If you recall, on his campaign way back when he first ran, he was constantly, what was he yelling? Drain the swamp. I'm going to drain the swamp. Trump represented everything that was anti these guys. You're getting nothing but the Democrats and Republicans, and I'm here to tell you, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to take everything and fix everything for you. So a lot of people listen to that. So that's where a lot of Trump's appeal comes from. And again, in relation to what's happening now with Harris and the Democrats and what they're doing and their warmongering and continued efforts to push war, the people behind the scenes want that, which is why Cheney endorsed Harris. That's why he's there, right? This is Darth Vader, Emperor Palpatine, the head guy, most evil guy in politics, considered one of them in history. Dick Cheney, he's all with Harris now. Why? Because all of the funding, all of the money for these wars, it's all connected. The military-industrial complex runs deep, and they want to keep these wars going. Trump is kind of like doesn't want to keep these wars going. So they're not really having that. So RFK Jr. being part of the Trump administration represents just another block in that sort of anti-establishment movement. What can we fix? What can we do here while we're here? I personally don't think the powers that be will let that happen. Again, they're trying very desperately to get rid of Trump. I think the assassination thing was one of them, the numerous lawsuits, the frivolous lawsuits all over the place. Again, just for my audience, just to be clear, I'm not supporting Trump. I'm not telling you that this is a great candidate. He's a great man. That's not what the point of this is. I'm letting you know what the facts of the matter are, what the case is, like what this looks like on paper. How do we square away the facts? And factually speaking, the establishment, they never wanted Trump to be involved in D.C. They never wanted him around. He represents something a little bit different that they're not used to, and they want to make sure they can control that. So when he comes in office again, we'll see what happens. I just think it's, is it all hype? That's the other thing, right? You kind of ask yourself, well, is Trump saying that now and then what happens later? But even if he does mean it and he gets there and he does want to stop all this stuff, will it be his fault if he's not able to, if someone else behind the scenes is controlling everything? I mean, let's think about that. At least I'll say this, at least there's an effort to even speak that. There's an effort for Trump to even make the gesture, the possibility that he doesn't want war, to say that. The Harris-Biden administration, as it is, Democrats right now, you don't even hear anything about wanting to stop these wars or, hey, when I get in office, my plan is to do X, Y, Z. Not even trying to do that. All they're doing is making sure that they let the world know that they stand with Israel. That's it. And we have a strong military. Why? So that the Congress, all the people involved, all the people intricately linked to Northrop Grumman and Boeing and Lockheed Martin, all these contracts, these people are contractors in these other countries. They help destroy these companies and they help rebuild these companies, and they all get paid. It's more money. And that's how it works. It was a totally different situation years ago. And again, Kennedy talked about this on the podcast. Years ago, president had to go to Congress to declare war, and they had to basically raise taxes. They had to sell it to the American public by any means necessary. For example, hey, weapons of mass destruction. This guy over here, Saddam Hussein, he's responsible for this. He's responsible for that. We need to save the people and install a democratic reign over there. And it was sold, and your taxes go up. And basically, that's the way we deal with that's basically the way we deal with war. Now it's just like, well, no, we don't really need to ask the people. We can just send billions of dollars everywhere and do whatever we want. It's no big deal. And that's what's happening. So we'll see what happens. I really thought it was interesting, him on that podcast and the things that he said about Trump not wanting to do have happen what happened to him before. It's something to think about. It's something to digest. Allow that to sink in, right? I always tell you on this channel, I'm hoping my goal is to just put the information out there and have you think about it, and things that you don't know. Hopefully this channel, hopefully other channels and other voices out there are telling you the same thing, outside the legacy media, of course, right? Tune in and find other sources of information so you can make informed decisions and you can know what's happening, so that you're not just part of the matrix and part of this thing that's plugged in and you have no idea what's going on. All right. That's it. Time to Talk podcast. I've talked enough about this. It's Friday the 13th. Enjoy your day. Enjoy your night. I will be trying to go live sometime next week. I need to come up with a production schedule in terms of how many episodes will be released per week, how we will be doing it, what format, and whether we'll be doing live so we can have some interactions. And I may have a guest on sometime next week, so stay tuned for that. If you've not subscribed yet, please be sure to hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, and comment. Let me know your thoughts on these things. That's really important, the engagement, the feedback. I look forward to that. And shout out to everyone who's already here. I'll see you on the next Guy Talks and the Time to Talk podcast. Peace.